What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Inferno here, and I'm checking in once again with yet another tutorial. Yes, sir. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how I created this nice artwork for a client of mine. So without much ado, let's turn into businessmen and women. So we would have to create our canvas. So you go to File, New, and then you are going to be given these set of options inside the new document dialog box. So make sure that your unit of measurement is on inches before you even proceed with inputting these values. Okay, so mine is on inches, so 5 inches by, so 5 inches width and height is 6. Resolution is on 300 and color profile should be on Adobe RGB 1998. Very important. So you go to create. And now I have something like so. So hold down space, hold down Ctrl R space, left click and drag inwards to take the canvas like so, to zoom out the canvas like so. Release Alt, release Ctrl hold space and left click and drag to center, and now like so. So as I normally do, I design my titles before I start with the actual designing itself. So my title in this case was Tehila Tamid. So I'm going to start with the design of the title Tehila Tamid. So let's get the creatives on board. Okay. So T for the type 2 and we start. So Tehila and then enter, then Tamid. Control A to select everything because everything is not visible because the text color is white. So for us to make everything visible, we have to change the color from white to a receding color, any receding color. So I'm going to go in for a neutral color in ash, like so, and then I'll go to OK. So I'll press Ctrl Enter to register action, V for the move to OK and reposition. So press Ctrl Enter and change the font style from this to fog lighting. So you can take a screenshot so that you can get the font and then download it if you want to. So I am going to link it. I'm going to link the resources in the description so that if you're interested, you can just go into my Google Drive and then get them downloaded. Okay. All right. Fog lighting. So I'm just going to fog and I get fog lighting. So I'm just going to go to create. I'm just going to left click on it and then like so. Okay. So I'll press Ctrl A and I'll click somewhere here to expand, and I'm going to reduce the spacing here like so, and I'll select the T, left click and drag over. Okay, come in here and then type Kudry, 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 then select it, Kudry weird headline. Do same for this Kudry. The Kudry is Y, so take note, Kudry is Y. So like so, Tehila Tamid, press Ctrl Enter to register action, and like so you have your title. Okay, press Ctrl T, hold down Alt. Okay, hold down Alt afterwards, and left click and drag from any point to zoom out evenly. Press Enter to register. It can be Enter or Ctrl Enter. So like so. So right now, I'm going to start importing some of my assets, okay? And some of my assets in this particular project included my background, okay? So this is what I did. I didn't want my background to cover everything. I wanted to create this kind of custom look for this design. So my rulers became important in this particular activity. So I just left clicked. I first started with this, left click and drag this, the vertical rulers, and like so. Another one, left click and drag, and then to somewhere here, and you release. So like so. Okay, so I just click right underneath the Tehila Tamid, click on the new layer icon, and then press U for the shape 2, and then right click on the ellipse, and then select rectangle. Left click and then drag like so, and release. So you get something like this. So V for the move to, and do away with the curvy corners or edges. You just select any of them and then you give it a 0 value. So like so, and I'll change the color from this to somewhere like so to at least give me some kind of idea of what I want to achieve. Okay, and then I will start with my import. So I would first create a new layer and I would, okay, so this is my subject and this is my background. So I'll first go with my background layer. So I'll just left click and drag it inwards like so. So you lose and you just left click and then drag it in here, hold shift and then paste. Okay, so that it becomes perfectly placed at the center of that particular artwork. So press, first right click on it and convert it to a smart object. Doing this is going to save you from pixelation issues, so please take notes. Okay, good, because I'll be scaling up the background in and out during the entire design. So that is why I'm doing my like that, so that I don't face any pixelation issues. Okay, so I press Ctrl T. I would press Ctrl minus to zoom out, Alt, and then left click, drag downwards, like so, reposition. So I'm just positioning my background layer like so, and yeah. So I'll place it here, and then I would group it. So I'll press Ctrl G, okay, and I would left click inside the thumbnail of the rectangle layer, the thumbnail, I mean here. Okay, so click and then it gives you a selection. So make sure that the group layer is selected before doing this. So the group layer is selected here. Now I would click the mask, okay, and then it is going to mask out all the areas that are outside the selection that I created with this rectangle. So everything is going to fall inside the inside that particular rectangle. Okay, so no matter what I place inside this group, okay, everything is going to be visible just inside the selection. Outside the selection is not going to be visible because remember I have marked out the selection. Okay, good. So all the black edges here, like for all the black edges here, nothing inside those areas will be visible or would appear in the design unless maybe you wipe them out, okay, by using the brush tool, but you are not there yet. Good. So I'll click on my layer 2 inside my group layer, and then up next is going to be my subject. So this is my subject, but for time management, I have to just crop it. So I just cropped it there, and I'm going to be using the cropped version. Okay, very good. So I have my cropped version here. So I'll just import it like so, and I'm going to then drag it like so. So fortunately for me, the size of the image is in range, so I'm just going to convert it to a smart object, and I think I already did, so it is going to save me from pixelation issues. So I'll just reposition it here like so. So just as I said, you see inside this particular areas, okay, or these particular areas of the subject's head, okay, have been hidden. Why? Because they are all inside all those areas have been marked out with black. So anything outside or anything inside all those areas wouldn't be visible unless I use the brush tool to reintroduce those areas. Okay, all right. So I'll click on the layer mask, B for the brush tool, then I would go in for the hard round brush like so, and I would go in for opacity 100%, and I'll switch the background and foreground with X. Okay, X, and then I would apply. So you see that when I applied white on black, those portions of the image or those areas in the image have now become visible. Okay, so that is how it works. On layer mask, black hides, white reveals. Okay, and vice versa. Vice versa means when you have an inverted layer mask, when you have a black layer mask. Okay. Good. So I would select our subject and I will use the arrow keys to shift him downwards like so. And yeah. So I'll select the title and then left click and drag it down. I'll press Ctrl T, then left click, hold down Alt, left click and drag like so. Just like that. Just like that. So yeah. What next? Okay. So we are left with some few things about the title. So press Ctrl T and hold down Alt and then increase the size. So let's design this. Okay, good. So Control plus N, new document window, 5 inches by 5 inches, and then color profile Adobe RGB. Doesn't really matter, but I'll be using it. So I would press T for the type 2 and I would click here to insert, and I would type on N, then press Ctrl A to select everything. Click here, change the color to somewhere like so, and this time around change the font style to Gata like so. Okay, click here to expand and then click here to make it lower case. Register action with this or by pressing Ctrl Enter, V for the move to reposition. Okay, and press Ctrl J to duplicate like so. Okay, it is on ending, so I'll just press Ctrl X and then Ctrl V to paste it here. Good, and then I'll select this, Ctrl Enter, and I'll type praise. Okay, praise like so. Control, just hold down Control and then reposition like so. Okay, just select this and drag over this, Ctrl X. Okay, select this and change font style to underline like so. Okay, increase the font style or font size, sorry, like so, and reposition like so. Okay, select the praise layer, Ctrl J to duplicate, move it down here, press Ctrl Enter, press Ctrl V to paste, Ctrl A to select, click on the inside the font style box and then type MZH. Okay, MZH, and then select it. So press Ctrl Enter to register action, press Ctrl T, then left click and drag. Okay, so I'm going for something more customized or something more custom for this particular artwork. Okay, all right, or for this particular team. So I just reposition it like so and Ctrl T. Anything inside the comment section if I am going too much with shortcuts so that I reduce the shortcuts. Okay, all right. So just like so. Okay. So sometimes you have to be a bit creative with your team design. Okay, it is not only about your title design, your team design as well. All right. So I'll just position it somewhere like so, and see, just like that. Okay, just like that. Okay, so I think yes. So the P was, I made the P caps, so I'll just press Ctrl Enter on the page layer to turn it, to make it editable. I'll just left click and drag over this, then I'll hold down Shift, I'll select P to make the P or to turn the P from lowercase to uppercase. Press Ctrl Enter, and now you have it like so. Okay, so like so. Use the arrow keys to reposition the placement of the praise. Okay, so like so. Select the only the U. Okay, and then increase the size further, like so. Okay, I really guys are enjoying the video. All right, let's get to work. So enter, and then we have something like so. So on ending praise, creatively designed. Okay, very good. So if the eye, you see, so if the eye is disturbing the end, you can take it off. Okay, I think it looks good. it looks good, so I wouldn't bother myself that much with taking it out. So like so. Okay, like so. So yeah, like so. Okay, I'll select just the praise, Control T, and increase the size slightly. Okay, like so. So yeah, so that was how I was able to create this theme. Okay, just drag over and then press Ctrl G to group everything so that we can move them together. Even after grouping, hold Ctrl when dragging, okay, so that everything moves with you into the new layer. Okay, all right. Press Ctrl T. Right now, it is a type, we're dealing with type layers, so there's no need for us to convert it to smart objects. Okay, unless maybe the desired field calls for that. But these are test layers, so there's no need for us to convert before scaling down. Okay, all right, so I'll just scale them down. No smart object needed here. And I'll press enter to register and then reposition like so. So I double clicked everything, the group layer for the theme, and then I just selected color overlay, change the color to white, went to OK, and then use the arrow keys to reposition. Okay, very good. So you're left with the title, Tehila Tamid. So I worked on some few adjustments there. So let me first change this color to white by double clicking inside this time node, and the rest will come afterwards. So I do it to white. Okay, good. So just as you can see, our subject, okay, is kind of interfering with our title, so it is not making our title very, very visible. So we have to kind of separate it with some applications. Okay, and one of them is the brush. Okay, so I will select our subject, press Ctrl Shift N to create a new layer, press enter, Ctrl or G. Okay, then I would select G for the gradient 2. Click on this particular, click on the foreground color, change it to black, press OK, and then G for the gradient 2. Hold down Shift, left click and drag, and then you get something like so. Okay, and reduce the visibility to somewhere like so. Okay, yeah, okay, somewhere like so. Okay, press Ctrl T and move it up a bit. Okay, don't be bothered about what we have here. I'm going to fix it. Okay, good. So we have something like this, and that is when this particular part came in. Okay, this particular part came in. This is the color code, so take notes. This, okay, so you can take a screenshot of the color code. So after everything, okay, I decided to create yet another layer on top. So this time I'll name it grad, and I'll change this color to blue, layer color, and then the rest will be normal. I'll go to OK. Move it outside the group. Why am I moving it outside the group? I don't want everything to be constrained inside the mask that I made for that very group. I want everything to move outside. Okay, so if later when I want everything to be inside, I would readjust. Okay, so watch me. Okay, all right. So G for the gradient, to change the foreground, to Control V, I copy the color over there, so I paste it in here, and I'll go to OK. So G, press down, Shift press down to constrain application, left click and drag like so. You see, just like that. Okay, so you see, it's exceeded our boundaries, just as I said. So I have to reintroduce the mask on this particular layer 2 as well. Okay, the box mask. Okay, the box that made me create this rulers. That made me kind of lay these rulers just have laid them. Okay, all right. So this was the rectangle that gave me that selection earlier. So I'll hold down Control and I'll click on it, and I'll get something like so. Okay, and then I would just, okay, so before I click on the layer mask to max, I'll group it first, and I would add the layer mask, and just like that. Okay, just like that. So we are getting close, are we? Yes, so like so, and let me close this layer, let me close this document, I don't need it. And just like that. Okay, very good. So yes, so let me first start with his name. Okay, so I would just create some few things here. Okay, to act as a gauge. Okay, sometimes you need gauges to help you with placement. Okay, so I'll do so, and like so, like so. Okay, so that I'll know how I'm going to design that particular um, like set of elements. Okay, or those particular set of elements. So I'm going to start with, I'll create a new layer, and mind you, okay, I am still inside my subject. Okay, so everything that I create is going to be inside my subject. So I have to take this particular layer outside it. Okay, that is why I'm a fan of always creating layers, to remind me of where I'm currently at inside the layers panel. Okay, so I've dragged it by left clicking and then dragging it outside the group. So now I can apply anything without thinking that that particular thing would appear or disappear or something like that. Okay, okay, right now it is not clipped, so we are free to apply. So I'll just left click and I'll drag like so. I'm using the shape 2, okay, and I'll change the curve edges from 20 to 0%, and V for the move to like so. Okay, good. And then I would create a new layer once again, T for the type 2, and then I will type, let me reduce the font size like so to somewhere around 12%. I will type Newton. Okay, Control A, change the font style from MZ to Tasca. So somewhere like so, Tasca 4500. So V for the move to the position, press Control T like so. Yeah, so I'll change the color from here. Okay, go to Newton, press Control T. So we are left with another one. Okay, there's not just the Newton. You have the first name, you have the surname. So the first name comes. So I'm going to press Control J to duplicate. Hold down Alt, hold down Control, and then press Control Enter. Move it there and then press Control Enter, and then Control V to paste. Okay, I've forgotten that I did not even. I am here to type the first name, so I'll just quickly press Control A to make sure that everything is selected, and then type Kojo. Okay, press Control Enter, then press Control T like so. Okay, like so. Okay, select this, Control T. Okay, and then left click and drag. Okay, like so. Press Enter to register and use the arrow keys, any of them, to reposition to your desired position. Okay, so let's do this. It's minute, but it also makes the artwork nice. So I'll select the shape 2, press P for the pen tool, and then hold down Control and click on any point. Okay, and then now let's do this. Just place your cursor at anywhere, so somewhere here, and then somewhere there. Left click to register those points. So I left click here, I left click here. Okay, if you don't want the point, just go back and then click on the point. Okay, then you are going to subtract it. Okay, so I want it, so I'll just click to get it back. And I don't want this point, so I'll click to subtract it. I hold down Alt, left click to sharpen the edge, Alt, left click to sharpen the edge, and have something like that. Okay, so P for the pen to left click, left click, left click on this point to subtract, hold shift, hold alt, left click, hold alt, left click to get something like so. V for the move to click anywhere outside it. Okay, and then the color comes in. Okay, so the color is this. Okay, somewhere like so. Okay, all right, I hope you are following. Okay, all right, let's go. So just press Ctrl J, left click and drag. Okay, this time around our text layer was on top of the rectangle layer. That is why there's no need for us dragging our text layer onto our shape layer, because it was already on top of it. All right, so press Ctrl J and left click and drag. Hey, press Ctrl T. It's Ctrl T rather, and left click and drag like so. Press enter to register and then reposition with the arrow keys. Remember, when you add shift to any of the arrow keys during repositioning, it is going to make the movement fast. So let's say shift plus the right arrow key, the movement is going to be fast. But as soon as you release shift and then use the arrow key directly, the movement is going to be slow. Okay, so take notes. So this I added shift and then like so, press Ctrl T, then reduce the size, then change it from Kojo to team to host. Press Ctrl T and reduce the size a bit, like so, and then zoom out. Okay. We have a range here. So from host to rectangle 2, we have a range. So you hold down shift with host selected, hold down shift and then select the rectangle 2 and then you reposition like so. Press Ctrl G and then rename them the hosts, so that you can move them together anytime you visit it or anytime you revisit this particular group. Okay, so you have something like this, and I also created this. Ctrl G, the title, Ctrl T, and then left click and drag to reduce the size. So Ctrl Enter, and then I'll type Worship Factory. Worship Factory. At this very point in time during the designing, I had not created a logo for them. Okay, so I used my own design abilities to get them look for their name. Okay, so Ctrl A. Now type it was junky something something. Yeah, something like so. And then I do the size like so. And then I sample the color from here. So when you click here, you get this and you get the chance to sample. So I sample this color from here like so. Okay, good. So I click here and drag over this and delete this empty area to get something like so. Worship Factory, then you zoom in and then Ctrl J, move it down, Ctrl Enter, Factory here, Ctrl A, reduce the font size like so, change the font, start from junky to gutter like so, and just like that. Okay, press Ctrl T, left click and drag to reduce the size, enter to register, Ctrl Enter, expand the text properties, and then expand the kerning. Okay, and reduce the size. So 3 points, it is currently 3.63 points. Okay, so make it just 3 points and then space it further, space it, Ctrl J, and then move it here and type Worship. So this is like the miniature version of the Worship Factory. Okay, so something like so. Okay, so right now let's hide the rulers. So Ctrl H is going to hide the rulers, and now I have a range here from the Worship through to the Worship Factory. So I'll just hold down shift, so like so, Okay, this is selected, so I'll hold down shift and I'll click this, left click to select. Okay, press Ctrl G to group them, Ctrl T, okay, and then right click and go to skew. So like so. Okay, somewhere like so. Okay, just like that. Okay, good. So I created a new layer on top of this, our background layer, by making sure that our background layer is selected, pressing and holding Control, adding Shift, adding in, then renaming white, then okay. So B for the bright too, and then I used white, okay, and then I applied white here. Remember this, use the soft round brush, not the hard round brush. Shall we check a point in a day? So you get something like this, and then you apply. So opacity is somewhere 86. Okay, let me take it somewhere 79. Let me apply. Okay, like so. Okay, like so. So the work is still looking flat. We will get there. Okay, all right. So I right click and I'll select the group layer here. Let me change it to team so that I can easily identify it like so, and I'll reposition it here. Okay, so I'm left with something small, but once again significant. Okay, all right. So I would come in here and I would select this. Okay, select this. Left click and drag it here. Okay, like so, and then left click. Okay, and drag it here. Okay, all right. So first convert it to a smart object, and I believe you know why we are converting to a smart object. Yeah, so drag it. Okay, drop it down inside the comment if you know why you are converting it into a smart object, because I've already spoken about this. Okay, let's go. So press Ctrl T and then you do the side like so. Okay, good. So double click on it, and for precision's sake, I'll sample the color like so, but let me first guess it from here. Okay, so somewhere it was a yellow color, so somewhere like so, something like here, yeah, somewhere like here, and then press enter and okay here too as well. Yes, so press Ctrl G to group it, and I'll name this load. Okay, because that is the loading icon. Okay, all right. So we are not done yet. We are going to duplicate this, Ctrl J, move it down here, and don't forget it is inside its own group, so you have to move it outside the group. Otherwise, when you move the group, it's going to move it together with the set of items. Okay, okay. So I'll move it, so left click and drag it outside the group, and then I would zoom in, then press Ctrl Enter, and I'll type August. Or is it August? August. So press Ctrl Enter, Ctrl T, and then Ctrl T like so, and then somewhere here. Okay, Ctrl J, move it upwards, Ctrl Enter, Ctrl A, and type this. Okay, Ctrl A to select everything, and then reduce the font size from here. Register action, and once again duplicate this layer to hold down Ctrl Alt J and then move it down. So I believe you are saving the shortcuts, because with Photoshop you have to work with shortcuts so that it speeds up your efficiency. Okay, so be jotting down the shortcuts. Okay, so this is Control J, and then I move down, okay, with the arrow keys. So I'll press Control Enter, and then I'll type 2026. Control A. So I'll do the font size like so. Okay. Control T. So just like that. Okay. Just like that. Okay. Just like that. Okay. So afterwards, I blurred this particular layer. Okay, the load icon, I blurred it. So this is how I did that. So with the load icon selected, I went to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Then I increased, okay, the value. Okay, like so. Okay, so this was kind of inventive. Okay, I am a Pro 13 fan, so PS13 fan, so I kind of saw this there. And then since then, it has been like at the back of my mind. So I always like creating stuff like that. Okay. So something like so. So I'll take it back to somewhere around 6.2. I think 6.2 will do just fine. Okay. All right. Which is 6.5.8. Okay. 4.9 would even be okay. So let's go with 4.9. Okay. All right. So like so, you right click and then select the theme and then you reposition like so. And you right click, select the load, and then right click, I guess, right click this. Okay. Right click. Okay. Select all those things. Press Ctrl T, and then okay. So I held down Shift as I right click and then select to add. Okay. To add new object into the selected objects. So I'll reposition like so. Right click, then theme. Okay, good. So I'll duplicate this, pressing Ctrl J, and Ctrl Enter, and then font. Okay, font style is Hansen. So I'll reduce the font size, and I'll type Psalm 23 verse 4, like so. Ctrl Enter, Ctrl T, like so. Then you reduce the font size, like so. Okay, good. Ctrl T, do the font size like so, and I'll just zoom in, and I would select this, and then I would, for precision's sake, I'll just sample the color. Okay, I'll press Ctrl Enter here, and I'll sample the color. Or I'll go to I'll press I for the eyedropper too, and I'll sample it like so. Okay, V for the move to zoom out, and I'll come in here and then drag this on top. Okay, press and hold Ctrl Add Enter and change the color. Click here and then paste the color. Okay, it didn't work. Okay, so let me just sample it from here. I forgot that I sampled it, so I should select it from the foreground over there. So press Ctrl Enter and zoom in, Ctrl T, and increase the U a little bit, and then somewhere like so. Okay, just like that. Okay, so one more thing, I just duplicated this by holding Ctrl J, by holding down Ctrl adding J, the left click, and let me drag to somewhere here. Ctrl Enter. Now we'll type theme / on ending phrase. Ctrl A, reduce the font size like so, and then change the font to Gata. Okay, click here to expand, and then increase the kerning like so. Register action and reposition somewhere like so. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so let's do some few touches and let's go. So the touches have got to do with this. Okay, so when you come in here, we have color balance, you have gradient map. Okay, I know why I did that. Okay, and I'm going to illustrate that pretty shortly. Okay, all right, let's move. So um what I normally do is I use gradient map for contrast. Okay, I use gradient map for contrast, and I use shadows and highlights to kind of elevate my shadows to give me this kind of nice look for images. Okay, always make sure that you don't overdo it. Okay, all right, now I'll show you why shortly. Okay, so I would select my subject, and then I would click in here, and I'll select gradient map like so, and straight for like just straightforward. Okay, or just like that you have something weird, so as usual I have to fix it. So I just click in here, left click, and I'll change these values. Okay, so this is going to be black. Okay, so you left click and drag to black, which okay, and this is going to be white. Okay, so black and white. Okay, all right, so you click and change it to white, so like so, then you go to okay. I'm not going to type the midpoint for this particular edit. Okay, so just black and white. I'm done. So I'm going to go to okay. Now I'm going to change the blending mode from normal to soft light. So now I have something like so. Okay, very good. So I would double click on my image and I'll go to nope, I'll not double click. I'll just go to filter. I'll go to filter and camera raw filter. Okay, Shift Control A happens to be the shortcut. Okay, so we'll be noting down the shortcuts. Okay, all right. And in here, I'm going to work on some few things. Okay, I'm going to work on some few things. I'm going to work on the texture and then the clarity. Okay, so texture is going to be 90, and clarity is going to be, is it 51? 51. So you can take a screenshot so that you can later refer to it. Okay, all right. So 50, 51. Okay, like so. So I'm going to okay, and now I'm going to get something like so. Okay, something like so. So that is it for the first look. Okay, so it looks weird. I understand. We'll get to it. Okay, good. So I'm going to have to select image once again on the same layer. Okay, so go to image on the menu bar, and then okay, image, adjustment, and shadows and highlights. Okay, all right. So you see the look that we are getting. So all the blacks in there have been further elevated to give it this kind of nice look. Okay, very good. So with this I'm just going to input these values. 35, is it 58? So 58, and I think the rest, yes, so 35, 58. Okay, somewhere like so. Okay, let me reduce it. I think 58 is too much. Okay, 58 will do. I would work on the midpoint. Okay, I would work on the midpoint to compensate. Okay, so you see that I was talking about the midpoints the other time. The midpoint is for where the midtones are. So we have the shadows, we have the highlight, and the midtones. So if you move the midtones like that, that is the midpoint. It increases the darks. Okay, and when you move the midpoint into the black, into the white, okay, it does vice versa. Okay, so into white it increases, into black it darkens. Okay, so let me illustrate what I mean. So I just double click in here, and then click on an indicator or a point before you get access to the midpoint. Okay, so I clicked on the shadows point, so right now I have the midpoint, so I'll left click and drag into the white, okay, and it is darkening because I am pushing the black towards the white. As soon as I do vice versa, okay, as soon as I push the white further into the blacks, okay, the image becomes more brighter, okay, or more overexposed, okay. All right, so yeah, so take note, okay, so even if an adjustment goes insane, you can use the midpoint or the gradient map adjustment to drive the image to give you something better than what an adjustment has done to your image. I hope you get me. All right, so I would move it in here like so, so something like this, and good. So I'm going to have to reduce the camera raw application slightly, okay. I'm going to move it slightly, so I'm going to so I'm going to left click here to move it downwards, and I would, you see, don't click on the camera raw effects test itself. When you do that, it's going to open the camera raw option for you, okay. Rather click on this particular indicator. Clicking on that particular indicator will give you the chance to control the amount of the overall effect of the camera raw filter on that particular image itself. Okay, so that is what I want, not the camera raw filter itself, but the chance to edit the effect that the camera raw filter has on my image. Okay, so I would just double click on it, on this particular icon. I'll go to okay, and you see how, yes, I'll get this blending options into bracket camera raw filter, okay. So I'll reduce the intensity, the opacity to somewhere like so, okay. When you move it all the way down, you see everything vanishes. That's not what I want. I want it somewhere here, and somewhere here, 85, okay. Let me go there once again, okay, and let me take it back to, let's say, somewhere around 95. Okay, I like 95. Okay, all right. So let's go to our title, and let's, I did some few things there, some few creative things there, so please follow me carefully, okay? All right. So inside there, I kind of have a lot of adjustment in there, so, okay. So I'll double click on the title, okay? On the title layer, and then in there, I have some few adjustments that I would like you to take notes. So when you come in there, I have my, how do I call it? I have my bevel and then emboss. Okay, I have my bevel and emboss. So inside my bevel and emboss, I have inner bevel, and I have these values. Okay, 428, 83. Okay, and then we have 36. Okay, like so. Okay, copy this color or screenshot this color to have it or to get the exact thing when you are practicing with it. Okay, and we have screen blending mode. Screen blending mode, blending mode, yes, blending mode. We have multiply shadows blending mode too as well, and that is that for the bevel and emboss. And I also have texture. Okay, so the texture, I chose this for my texture. Okay, and my values are 17 plus 100. Okay, 17 plus 100. Okay, and I also have stroke. Okay, like so, and it is inside. Okay, is it inside? Yes, inside, and I have it on 4. Okay, 4 pixels. Okay, so inside 4 pixels. Blending mode is on normal, and fill type is on color, not gradient. Okay, very good. So like so, and we are getting there. Okay, very good. So I have my gradient overlay. Okay, like so. Okay, this is what I have, very weird, but that is not what I want. So I'll click here, and then so this color, Okay, this, I want this particular color code. Okay, so CO C6 C6 8 B4 6. Okay, like so. Okay, and then this was, I think, white. This was white, and like so. Okay, this was white. Yes, I think it was white, like so. So you guys should take note of everything. So this color, okay, and this is white. Okay, I went to okay, and yes. So we double click on the same title layer once more, and this time around we are going to add a drop shadow. Okay, why are we doing that? For contrast reasons. Okay, for contrast reasons, because our text is a bit light. So if you don't give it a shadow, okay, it is not going to give us enough contrast for our text to become more visible. Okay, so I would go to drop shadow, then I would change the color from blue black to black, and then I'm going to give it its own fill. Okay, opacity. So I'm going to give it 11%, and this is on 90, and then the rest are all intact. This is 32 here. Okay, and this is also 28. Okay, the rest are all intact. So take note and do that so that you can follow me accordingly, or you can achieve the effect that I have achieved. Okay, all right. So once again, if you have any question, don't forget to drop it inside the comment section. I would respond to everything on time. Okay, all right, let's get to work. So something like so, and just like that. Okay, so we move our background layer a bit upwards. Okay, because the T here is not visible. Okay, so I'll select our background layer by left clicking on it and then move it up. So as you can see, okay, where we applied that particular, see, where we applied white on that particular gradient map, okay, that we did work on at first, is now affecting our background layer. So we have to give our background layer itself a layer mask. Okay, so we would just group our background layer. So I'll double click here and I'll give it BG. Okay, so always when you are working with layer mask, make sure that you take note of everything, so that when there is a weird artifact somewhere, you can be able to know where the issue is coming from, and then you fix it. Okay, so I've identified mine. It comes from here. Okay, I reintroduce certain areas with white. Okay, so I've created a new layer mask for this particular layer itself, the background layer. So this time around, I'll just left click on the rectangle that helped me with the layer mask at first. Then I would assign the mask to this. Did you get it? Good. So right now everything is intact. Okay, our background layer has its own mask, and our subject also has its own mask. Okay, so everything is free now, and then they are all being driven by the same mask, just that the mask of our background layer has been altered, okay, for us to get the upper portion or the upper side of his head. Okay, good. So just like that, we have this, and the name of our subject has become invisible, so we have to reposition. So we right click on it and then we select it. Remember, we grouped it. Okay, so then you move it upwards like so, and just like that. Okay, just like that. So I think we are done. I created this in Adobe InDesign. The barcode, the QR code, I created it in Adobe InDesign. So I'll select both of them. Okay, now press Ctrl C to copy, and then come in here and make sure that you're on top of everything. So I'll move upwards here, cascade the load layer, click on it, create a new layer on top, and press Control Alt Shift Alt V to paste in place, and now we have it. Okay, good. So we are left with some few things like over here. So we click on the load layer, we create a new layer. Okay, click press enter on it, and then hold down Control, use the next bracket key after the bracket key after P key on the keyboard to move the layer upwards. Okay, and then hold down hit Control Alt and add G to clip mask that layer on top of the group layer, and then B for the brush to, and then click on the foreground color and then give it sample, or let's say choose a color, a very lighter version of the yellow, that you've already applied to the loading layer. Okay, so somewhere like so, and B for the brush to then apply. So I'll go in for white too, somewhere here, and also apply it as well. Okay, like so. Okay, so just like that, we are in. Okay, we are in for a big bang. So let's select our theme layer, hold down Shift, right click on the theme. Okay, I think everything is inside the same layer, so press Ctrl T, then increase. The U is outside, I forgot it. So I hold down Ctrl, add the U from here, press Ctrl T, and increase their sizes, like so. Okay, press Ctrl G, and now the effects, inside the unending praise group is not going to affect the U because we have a group layer and then an actual layer inside a new group. Okay, all right. So I'll reposition them like so, and let me introduce this final thing. So I'll create a new layer here, and the final thing is going to be this. Okay, so let's click and drag it in here, hold Shift and leave like so, and right click on this, select group 4, and let me select this, let me group it once again, let me name it loading because I want to be able to move them together. Okay, and then I would select this 20, August, then drag them, left click and drag them and release them onto the loading group to add them into the loading group as well. So right now we have them group, press Ctrl T, and you can scale that particular group as well. Okay, so we have something like this, Ctrl T, like so. Okay, like so. Right click on this group 4, select it and move them like so. Okay, good. So right now, see, we have to expand this, because our title is, I think it is not that visible, so let's just expand this a little bit. Ctrl J to duplicate, like so. I think this is better, and let's add a mask to this, B for the brush tool, and try to clean the areas of our subject face. Sometimes duplicate ends up affecting your subject face, so you have to ensure that your subject face is free of applications, in this case the brush or the gradient application. So I'm going to, with black, I'll switch from white to black with X foreground and background, and I would apply somewhere like so. So now I know that my subject face is free, and I would apply a similar mask on this like so. Okay, you can duplicate the mask, so I can just hold down Alt, left click and drag this onto this to duplicate the mask. Okay, let this be, and then like so. Okay, so just like that, we are through. Okay, we are through. So yes, Yes, yeah, I think that was. So one more thing, I'm not done yet. You see, our subject face is more towards the yellows here, but when it comes to this particular areas, it appears it is more towards the reds. Okay, let's fix it. So this was how I did that. I selected the subject layer and I added an adjustment in what? Color balance. Okay, so I'm going to balance the colors. Okay, all right. The color balance, and I'll go here somewhere around this. Okay, for the mid-tones. And yeah, that was how I was able to create this. Okay, somewhere here. So I added more yellows to blend the subjects with the looks, okay, inside the design itself. And my guys, I think we are through. So that was how I was able to create this artwork for a client of mine. Let me see. Yes, so somewhere, let me move our background a bit downwards. So that I can move our subject image, our subject's name further downwards like so. And worship factory, right click and select it like so. Okay, let me increase the size. The worship factory, Control T, hold down Alt, left click and drag to the right to scale in evenly. Press Control 0 to fit. And guys, if you can create this, you've been able to create what I created. You've been able to create what I created. You've been able to create what I created. So thank you very much for sticking around. Thank you very much for sticking around, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So God willing, next time, peace.